and ensure that you deliver according to the innovations of today. So there are many issues where we train people, and also we ensure that they have the much needed employment. Now, we are training people not, in fact, to be employees. We are training people to be employers using the CDF. Going further, distribution of CDF ought to be done in accordance with the merits that are brought on the table. So there is what is required urgently as a matter of urgency when it comes to management of CDF. That is constituent assemblies as well as ward development assemblies. We have not had this, where the community is brought together to discuss how best we can develop our community to ensure that, imagine, we've had an experience of having Matero as an epicenter of cholera, but we still have this repeating itself. And the reason is because we've not innovated. We've not decided to put mechanisms in place to ensure that we run away from this aspect. We've not lobbied government enough to ensure that there is proper drainage system. We've not lobbied government enough to ensure that our aim or garbage collection is done in the best way possible that can be done. Imagine Matero constituency houses all the garbage that is collected in the whole district. Unfortunately, we've got that area by Chingole Tenof, the Marabo. That is where we house all this. But around the area, there is not much industry that is used to recycle the garbage that we have. Imagine today if we had an industry just by the area there, which industry is for recycling. Now, that is a CDF project that is meant to recycle garbage and perhaps come up with recycled blocks. You know, you can make these building blocks from recycled material, and these are proper blocks with a lifespan of 100 or 200 years, non-biodegradable. Now, you've got 36 million kwacha in CDF. You can actually allocate even 10 to 15 million kwacha, where you know you come up with a proper industry to recycle the garbage.
All right.
So
I think
there is much that we can actually do
for Matero. Now, before we get into the human rights issue, yesterday and the other day, I think you've been trending, and a lot of our local newspapers have carried a story that involves you talking about how a Lusaka lawyer, Mr. Celestine Mukandila, and Mambilima, PF Member of Parliament, Honorable Jinch Senga, have demanded for 30 million kwacha compensation from the state for unlawful arrest and detention in Kawamba district last month. The duo is further demanding 10 million kwacha from Lapula Province Police Commissioner Yoyi Mwala over the same matter. Now, for people that do not know of this particular matter, Mr. Mukandila and also the PF member for Mambilima constituency were taken into custody for allegedly stealing a laptop valued at 8,000 kwacha and cash amounting to 20,000 kwacha. So I would like to get from the side of your story. Why have you decided to go this route to for compensation, and what really happened? Very briefly.
Well, of course, my side of the story is what is in the demand letter, wherein we went to the police to report election violence, and we found the police commissioner who warned us that he's going to arrest us. We went in for interviews in the office of the officer in charge in Kawambwa, where he interviewed us. We told him these are allegations that were just frivolous and vexatious. However, he made a decision and instructed his officers to say just record warn and caution statements for theft, and you can go ahead and charge them with that. So as he was leaving, he instructed his police officers in our presence, and that was the case. We requested that colleagues, these are allegations. We've recorded our warn and caution statements. It is important, it's very imperative for you to investigate further and understand that the people that were with us there should equally be questioned. Statements should be picked from them so that we know that these proper investigations have been conducted. Unfortunately, whereas at the police, I think should have been around 1930 to 20 hours, the police just indicated that no, the three of you, that's being myself, Honorable Tsenga, as well as President Peter Chanda. The three of you, we're going to charge you. However, we're going to give police bond to President Peter Chanda. But for the two of you, being myself and Honorable Tsenga, for the two of you, we'll detain you. We're going to arrest you tomorrow and bond you. So we told them to say, colleagues, we need to go back and attend to a democratic process of elections, because we are amongst the very few people who are accredited to run these elections under New Congress Party. So we are supposed to be key in the process of totaling these results. Besides, we are the ones that are receiving the PVT from our election agents. It's extremely important that we are present and we monitor the operations. Our colleagues just said we are going to consult, and of course I know for a fact they may have gone to consult Commissioner Yui, because he's the one who handled us, and he probably just made a decision to say no, just keep them. Unfortunately, without even doing further investigations on the matter. So the following day, we were arrested. It should have been at 10. We were arrested formally and formally charged with the offense of theft, and we were given police bond in our own recognizance. Imagine the embarrassment that may have been caused. Imagine the discomfort, the anguish.
There's no theft of a laptop worth 8,000.
I mean, a man of my caliber, why would I go and steal a laptop worth 8,000 kwacha and a 20,000 kwacha?
That's what.
When the reality that is there as counsel, for example, not that I'm bragging, but I'm blessed with the fact that the phone that I use alone is 57,000 kwacha. As a matter of fact, why should I go and...
What sort of phone is that?
It's an iPhone 16. So this is what is on the market. But why would I go and... it defies logic. Why would even an honorable member of parliament go and steal a laptop?
So what are these? These are just...
So those were mere allegations. When you saw the statement that was written by the Director of Public Prosecutions informing the state that the DPP is unable to prosecute because the statements that they've received indicate that this colleague just lied. He in fact informed some of the witnesses that they wanted to use, that they are going to play politics, and it was highly political. And that is the unfortunate part. Because they detected the lies, we would have expected that that cadre who lied against us by now would have been arrested. We would have expected that this person who lied and gave a false statement to the police, because it's an offense to give a false statement to the police, you know, would have been arrested. But what transpired is extremely unfortunate. It went against our human rights, and it violated our rights to freedom of movement, our rights to freedom of association, and many other rights. We felt that we were lowered in the eyes of right-thinking members of society. So it's extremely important that such which happens or occurs, and it's meant to infringe on the rights of a person, should never go unpunished, if I can say.
And you're now
that.
demanding 30 million kwacha from the state.
Yeah, I will actually tell you that your freedom or your peace cannot be worth even that much. It does not have any value. It may even be more than that. Yeah. If it were up to me, I would tell you that I would have even put up 300 million kwacha, because my lawyers guided and advised, so no, let's just put this. But as a matter of fact, we must remember our constitutionally guaranteed human rights are not worth a dime.
Yes, of course. And I've had a chance to talk to some governance experts, and they're saying, yes, whatever happened was very unfortunate, but the fact that now Mr. Mukandila wants compensation, 30 million kwacha, brings us back to the UPND members that have been compensated by the state. And there's been a lot of money that, you know, these people have been compensated. And they're saying, look, we still go back to the same, same path. The opposition are the ones at the forefront condemning these compensations, but they're also doing it.
No, the reality is, if you are going to compensate your people in this vein, where you are claiming that there were human rights violations or infringements, as the case may be, the question is, why then can't you compensate a person who has got a clear case of an infringement, of an unfair treatment by the state. It's clear. If this government is one that operates on the basis of equitable application of the law, rule of law, and just justice for all, I think my case is actually a clear case which requires compensation. By now, I would have expected the Attorney General, I would be consulting, finding out from my lawyers if the Attorney General has responded. It's very possible that, this is a clear case. My rights were infringed. I was detained for that much time. And your freedom, comrades, ladies and gentlemen, countrymen and women, your freedom is worth much more. It is worth much more, because this is an inalienable right that you have to freedom of movement, to liberty. The pursuit of liberty, of happiness, comes in with liberty.
Yes.
So I believe if UPND is going to show that it's a serious government that deals with that considers everyone to be equal and everyone to be Zambian, and not like an animal farm kind of arrangement where others are more equal than others, I expect that they will compensate us.
Yeah.
And it should be a warning on the part of erring civil servants. Remember, as of 2019, there is the Public Service Management Act. Is it the Public Finance Management Act that was enacted, which Public Finance Management Act has provided that an erring civil servant who causes government to lose money shall be surcharged by the Secretary to the Treasury. So those civil servants who decide to be overzealous and think because you've been given an instruction by a political cadre and you are just going to take this political instruction, which is illegal, and execute it, infringing the human rights of anyone, and you cause government to lose money, just know that that act shall be applicable to you.
So then, do you share the same sentiments with those that have been compensated, especially the UPND members, to say, look, it's not like we want to get money from the state, but we feel our rights were infringed, and this compensation has to happen. Others have argued that there's a lot of wastage when it comes to this compensation.
It should
share the same sentiments with the UPND members.
I will tell you that any day, any time when human rights are violated, a person has to be compensated. If it is a clear case of abuse, we know, then a person has to be compensated. But I will tell you that I do not appreciate a scenario where, for example, this government would decide to compensate people who are on nolle prosequis. There's no law that has provided for that. So we need to look at public interest also. Public interest. My rights were violated, as a matter of fact. Do I deserve to be compensated? Yes, I deserve to be compensated. Why? Because the Constitution of the Republic of Zambia has provided for that. It has provided to guarantee my human rights and my rights, as a matter of fact, as a human being, as well as a citizen of this country. So, if there are those that were compensated and they deserve the compensation, I'll tell you any day, any time that they deserved it. But if there are those who even know to say this is a clear case where the state would actually succeed if the matter went to court, then I don't think they deserve that.
Okay.
But it goes to the root of professionalism. Civil servants must be reminded that when you're a civil servant, you work with the government of the day, not for the political party in power. Yours is to maintain the etiquette and the demeanor, that which is deserving of a civil servant in the civil service, following the civil service code of conduct.
All right. The time is 9:59. We do have the top of the hour break coming up at 10. So for your contributions and questions, like I said, would be live a little bit later on Facebook. We are now live, so you can go to your Facebook and search for RCV News. RCV News is a platform where we post everything current affairs, so come through and let's get interactive. This morning I'm privileged to be joined by Lusaka lawyer and human rights activist Celestine Mukandila. He's with us to look at the human rights situation in the country and also just other national matters that do concern you, the citizenry. So you can come through on the number 0956-200-490, 0956-200-490. That's the number that you can use for your contributions and questions. So let's get interactive. You can also send your messages on that number. Up next, we do have the top of the hour break. Just after that, we get back with the conversation. Good morning.
Nilipa ulendo ine ndani ya sapela nane kuja msinge komweti zapeza umoyo nivacha ipase nivacha kumtima nivacha nilifuna vacha kumtima nivacha kumtima nivacha.
We're here for one mission, to empower and equip believers for the Great Commission by delivering godly and relevant content that speaks to each member of the family. Radio Christian Voice, your home since '94. Delivering godly and relevant content that speaks to each member of the family. Radio Christian.
This is to inform you that the views on this program do not necessarily represent the views of Radio Christian Voice.
Africa is 10:02 and you are listening to Wednesday's edition of Chatback right here on Radio Christian Voice, your number one radio station and your home since '94. And this morning we are looking at the human rights situation in the country and also other matters that are concerning or that do concern you as a citizenry. The number is 0956-200-490, and also you can come through with your contributions on RCV News. RCV News is a platform where we post everything current affairs, so come through and let's get interactive. My guest this morning is Lusaka lawyer and also human rights activist, Mr. Celestine Mukandila. He's with us to help us look at this particular topic. Let's get back to the conversation, and I'd like to get your reaction to UN Special Rapporteur's report on the human rights situation in the country. And there are so many things that she highlighted, but generally, I wouldn't like us to get into detail, but generally, from what we got, she was impressed with sort of the human rights situation in the country. And we're also getting that she compared it to previous governments, and she says, you know what, yes, there are some gray areas, Public Order Act, she mentioned all that, but generally she feels Zambia is heading in the right direction. What is your reaction to her report? I know you may have looked at it at length. What is your reaction to her report?
Well, my take is, and this is extremely important for people to understand, when she was giving her report, she looked at the historic background of our human rights stance, and of course comparing previous governments and the previous regime. And of course we also need to understand that in essence there are things that she indicated which people may have not
the carpet.
Yes, they may have not paid much attention to. She indicated that this government was elected on the premise that that it was going to run this country on the basis of the rule of law, on the premise that it was going to ensure that provisions that infringe on human rights, such as the right to expression and just speech, are guaranteed, and those provisions ought to have been repealed. Those promises were made. Unfortunately, what we saw is where one provision, such as defamation of president, is repealed, And this government still insists on using other provisions to curtail people's free speech and just the bar of tolerance by this government. According to her, by the way, the bar of tolerance by this government on criticism is raised in the negative, because this government is not tolerating criticism of its management or of its government. So, in essence, she indicated that there are provisions such as those that deal with seditious practice, those that deal with the Cyber Security Act, such as hate speech. These provisions are being used to curtail people from expressing themselves. We have seen social media commentators who have been arrested and picked up for commenting on issues that just require the state to make a serious amend on, for commenting on issues that border on the governance of this country, for commenting on issues that are a clear show that when you're in the political realm or in the political setup, you must expect to have, you are expected to have a thick skin, as a matter of fact. So all these comments that would actually amount to fair comment have been weaponized to be used by this state and abused in the sense that law has been applied, lawfare has been used to abrogate human rights to expression and free speech. So those are some of the sentiments that she raised, where she indicated that of course we may have moved slightly above, as a matter of fact. However, there is more that has to be dealt with. Offenses such as insults, or use of insulting language are being used in place of the defamation of the president provision that was there. So you'll find that on one end you appear as though you are fighting, or you are trying to encourage people to have that freedom of the press, freedom of expression and all, but on the other end, the reality that strikes is that you in fact are trying to infringe on people's rights to express themselves. So it is extremely sad that we'll have double standards kind of application of the law, and it has been noticed that the issue of this double standard appears more when it comes to statements that are made by those that appear to have an opposing view to that of the government of the day. But those that appear to be supporters of this government or the UPND political party are not picked or charged with offenses that we have since mentioned. So you will see that there is selective justice, selective application of the law, and that is a reality that is there. We have seen civil society organizations in this country, including the Law Association of Zambia, including the church, indicating that there is selective justice in this country. For example, we've got notable examples where we've seen a person who is a mayor in Kafue who would issue a statement that proposes to be very tribal, but on one end this person is not picked up, but where another statement is issued by a person who is a critical voice against this government, similar statement, this person is picked and charged. We have seen where a minister, an entire minister, would issue a statement that would actually amount to hate speech. He's not picked. But where another person issues a similar statement, this person is picked. So these are things that require that this government must take a serious self-introspection following the visit of the special rapporteurs to ensure that they introspect and start doing the right thing. There is nothing wrong with them doing the right thing. That is why, even in my case, we have indicated that on the other end, we have seen this government compensating people who may have had their human rights infringed. Now, we've got another one, which is a clear case of infringement, which is my case. We are waiting to see what this government will do. So, clearly, in all essence, we need to ensure that we cleanse ourselves from the hypocritic movement of running this country.
Yes.
Where there is double standards.
Yeah. And just there, I've also had a chance to interview and also talk to members of the ruling party, and we've brought up this particular case, of how that the opposition feel their rights are not respected, and also that how the selective, sort of application of the law. But from the opposition, they say that look at majority of the people that have been called to the police, that have been arrested, they actually have actual cases that they have to sort of, be charged. They say some of these opposition, especially political leaders, have been paging the government on these issues. Yes, the government is, according to them, is tolerant, but the opposition now is sort of abusing their freedom of expression and paging this government.
I will tell you.
How true do you think these sentiments are?
I will tell you that for me, when you look at the standard of tolerance in this government, it's way below par. This government is not tolerant to any statements.
Example?
I'm a practical example. At some point, I had written in a very rhetoric manner on my Facebook page, indicating that come 2026, by 10 hours, the same way that President Hakainde said, by 10 hours, when a new president is sworn in, by 14 hours, community house will become state property. By 23 hours, it shall become a boarding house. You will not believe the kind of backlash I received, where I'm even called in by the police for interrogations to say, you want to grab the president's property. How would you feel
Mr.
if...
Mukandila,
So
don't you
I
think that
indicated...
is overboard?
I want you to
How do you turn
understand...
community house into a boarding house?
I want you to understand. I had written that, and I even indicated a principle. The principle behind what I had written was a case of Zambia National Holding Society versus the Attorney General, where in that case you've seen that government complex. The government complex was supposed to be UNIP headquarters, but government exercised what we call compulsory acquisition. So they acquired that compulsorily. They grabbed that property because some resources that were used included state resources. Now, state resources, I even explained on my page. In fact, if any reasonable person would have taken time to read, they would have known that state resources does not only include money. It does not only include money. Because I'll tell you as a matter of fact, that community house, when you look at all that has been done there, it's also possible that President Hakainde has used this money. It is a fact that he may have used his money.
The permanent secretary for the Minister of Information made it clear.
Yes.
There hasn't been any state coffers that are being used.
Yes, but understand, because this is a debate now in public domain, but understand that in order for a place to be considered as having been safe to host a president, the Zambia police has to go and inspect and okay that place to tell the president to say we can protect you from this property. That in itself is a use of state resources. It is a resource. Human resource is a resource.
Yeah, because
so people
privileges of course being a person.
Yes.
So you may go to
I want you to understand
and have
exactly the point.
Exactly still going to be used because the state police there.
Exactly the point. So whether you like it or not, as long as you're a president, a state resource will be used. However, what I'm trying to say is when it comes to levels of tolerance in this government, we have seen, clear cut, we have seen that this government has not been too tolerant, especially on statements that are made by people. And that is why I continue to encourage our colleagues to say, when you are making any statement, ensure that that statement is bordered on truth, it is bordered on fact, and also ensure that you don't cross paths with the provisions of the law in the slightest way, because we have got a government that is not tolerant. So it is an issue of serious self-introspection by this government to ensure that we start having a thick skin. There is an adage which says if you cannot withstand the heat in the kitchen, it's better you leave the kitchen. Now, if this government cannot withstand the kind of pressure that comes from the political circles, it's okay for them to resign on moral grounds and just leave it. It means they cannot withstand the pressure. So there's nothing wrong with them just resigning and leaving.
The time is 10:15, and you are listening to Wednesday's edition of Chatback right here on Radio Christian Voice. Just a reminder that this conversation is live on Facebook. You can come through on Facebook. Come through on RCV News. RCV News is a platform where we post everything current affairs. So come through and let's get interactive. And my guest this morning is Lusaka lawyer and also human rights activist, Mr. Celestine Mukandila. We are looking at the human rights situation in the country and also matters of national interest. We know we do have the Pambashe and Petauke parliamentary by-elections coming up tomorrow. So we're also going to be getting into that a little bit later. But the number is 0956 200 490, 0956 200 490. That's the number that you can use for your contributions and also questions. All right, now let's just maybe summarize, this human rights whole arrangement, because we have been talking about this for a long time. But with the UPND, just after Madam Irene Khan's statements, for them, they feel they are making the right progress. But outside politics, as a human rights activist, what would you love to see to ensure that human rights are not only respected but are also sort of upheld, especially in a democratic dispensation like Zambia? Just outside politics, what would you love to see?
Yeah, outside politics, I think for me, I would say I would want to see that this government is more tolerant towards divergent views. I would like to see that the rule of law is applied in a fair manner and not have political influence, because with the application of the rule of law, where there is political influence, that is why you find that human rights are violated in a manner that is not supposed to be. And mostly you find that you may have colleagues in the police or in the civil service that are a bit overzealous, and that in itself will result into abrogations of human rights of individuals. So I would want to see that we have a civil service that remains professional. When they remain professional, we'll see that they are going to apply the rule of law in a very equitable manner. The process of the civil service being professional, it means we will not have seen the weaponization of the civil service to induce harm towards citizens, especially those with opposing views. So I would want to see that there is fair application of the Public Order Act, wherein we have public processions being let to be held by opposition or civil society organizations with an opposing view. I would want to see the coming to life of provisions of the Constitution that provide for freedoms and rights, such as the freedom of assembly, where you're going to be free to assemble and actually deliver a message that you would want to deliver in a peaceful manner, where you are going to have the freedom of speech. You talk about issues that affect your well-being and your welfare without the abuse of laws such as the seditious practice rule or law and such as the hate speech law. I would want to see a scenario where the rule of law is respected to the extent that those that are put in custody, in police custody, do not spend more than 24 hours and they are taken before court on time or almost immediately. I will tell you from the experience I've had when I was placed in the Kawambwa cells. I found people in those cells that were there for others for over 20 days, others for over 15 days, Others, there was another one for over about 17 days. And when you look at the offenses these people may have committed, these are bailable and bondable offenses. Imagine the kind of injustice. Imagine how bad this person may have been feeling in that very tiny room, very dirty room, bad conditions of service, and this person is being kept in custody, in police detention for over 25 days. For what? For an assault? That we shan't allow. So I would want to see the police apply the law in a very equitable manner, devoid of the fact that we've got others who may not afford lawyers. Others we know are coming from rural areas, in fact in those rural areas, who do not have access to justice departments or access to departments that help or assist in the attainment of justice. I would want to see real justice being attained by people. Just the application of the rule of law in an equitable manner. I would want to see a professional police service, where in a police service, a police officer will refuse to follow an unlawful instruction either from a political cadre or from their superior and just request them to say, we need to operate on the basis of what is contained in the law. I would want to see a country where the rule of law is respected, democracy becomes core, where we know to say a person's human right to vote, the right to participate in elections, the right to belong to any political party is guaranteed and protected. I think I would want to see this country moving on a path of respecting the law and the Constitution of the Republic.
Okay, something that's also linked to human rights, and also just to ensure that we've got a very conducive sort of democratic dispensation. It takes me now to the Pambashe and Petauke parliamentary by-elections. But before we get to those parliamentary by-elections, a lot of stakeholders have expressed happiness with the atmosphere in these two constituencies. They're saying, look, we've been hearing people campaigning in Petauke and also campaigning in Pambashe, and we've never heard of major incidents, especially pertaining to violence. And others are saying, look, coming from the past, we are heading into the right direction. Are you also one of those people that are going to pat the UPND on the back, that there's been peace in these parliamentary by-elections, especially during campaigns? Are you going to pat the back on their back and say, guys, you have done a good job?
Unfortunately, I will not, because I've experienced first-hand violence by the UPND, and I don't think that is one thing to be proud about. The UPND must sanitize their house in terms of the political violence that they exert on the Zambian people in these by-elections. The amount of violence that is exerted is from outside this world. They need to be ashamed that they would even want to speak to issues to do with peace or having peaceful elections, because these are colleagues, according to me and from what I have witnessed, these are colleagues in Kawambwa. These are colleagues that yes, were attacked and that's the reason why we actually went to that police station for two things: to go and report that violence that we incurred, and also to go and listen as to why we were being called by the police. So imagine the attack we received. We had gone to the police to inform the police that these guys had pangas and all. We had proper evidence, actionable intelligence as to the pangas that we saw in pictures of them offloading them and putting them down and sorting them out. We warned, but nothing happened, and we were faced with those pangas. I will tell you that President Peter Chanda was almost stabbed to death. Had it not been for him to just dig a bit, he was going to be stabbed entirely. He was cut on his hand with a knife.
Did you report that to the police?
That was reported. That was amongst the things that we did. And those were non-political cadres. Up to now, we've not heard that those cadres were picked. But what I have heard so far is that the same group of cadres that were in Kawambwa are now currently in Petauke. They were being dropped into Petauke as of yesterday. And this is information that the police are aware of. So for me, I will tell you, the UPND should never, unless they repent of their sins that they are able to see.
Kawamba could be a special case, but
so right now,
and Petauke, what
we have read Honorable, our colleague, one of members of parliament for the Patriotic Front's vehicle was seriously smashed. I will tell you that Mama Brenda Nyirenda was present when they were being attacked. She just said, Sani, what we have experienced, I have never seen. These people are criminals. So imagine the kind of violence that is exerted on our people. And this violence is not only exerted on the people that belong to the Patriotic Front, but it is exerted on each and every person
but
in those areas.
My worry and argument is, it looks like if that's the case, as you are saying, then why is it that other stakeholders don't condemn that violence? We never get statements. Even the Electoral Commission of Zambia, we don't get statements. Now it looks like it's a one-sided. It more looks like allegations. As we have raised concerns. What's happening on the ground?
We have raised concerns as to the independence of the Electoral Commission of Zambia. We have raised concerns that the Electoral Commission of Zambia has not been coming on board to deal with the UPND violence. We have raised these concerns, and these concerns have been raised both in writing as well as just verbally to these returning officers and those that are managing elections in these areas. Nothing has been done. It's unfortunate. And it is unfortunate that we might be having Electoral Commission of Zambia being viewed by the Zambian people eventually as a branch of the UPND, which should never be the case. There is need for us to increase the confidence that the Zambian people have in the Electoral Commission of Zambia as an institution that is mandated to maintain this democratic virtue of this country. We need to ensure that this country's democracy is seen to be happening. So the pressure that we have, the problem that we have is, on one end we've got violence exerted by the UPND, by non-UPND cadres. We know them. They are reported to the police do not do anything. The police does not do anything, unfortunately. But when a slight thing happens, where even a UPND cadre is going to lie and give a false report to the police against an opposition member, the police is more than swift and hurriedly goes in to arrest the person even without investigation. So we will need to have that introspection. So the UPND as a political party will need to ensure that they introspect, they self-introspect, and try by all means to have a peaceful election. We have seen this movie before. As a matter of fact, the reason why the Patriotic Front was voted out of power is because of perceptions of violence. And what we are seeing as the violence exerted by the UPND is extreme. It is extreme because I've seen it firsthand. President Sean Tembo is attacked. These guys had machetes and they had guns. I have seen it firsthand. President Peter Chanda is attacked. They had machetes, they had guns. I was actually present. They attacked Honorable Chisenga. Had it not been for the two police officers who were on site to whisk her away from that mob, I think by now it should have been history. But this is violence from the UPND, where you are seeing these individuals even indicating to saying, I mean, come on. A wrong that was done in the PF, we should be able to graduate.
Yeah.
We should be able to graduate because we are telling ourselves to say we shall do better.
So now getting into these by-elections tomorrow, voting is tomorrow, right?
Voting is tomorrow. I am praying.
Voting is, what are you praying for?
I am praying that the UPND will not unleash the Armageddon they unleashed on Kawambwa. They will not unleash the Armageddon such as that. I am praying that the police will be on guard. And they will be very professional in the way they police the events of the election.
And these narrations, these stories that you tell, have you sat down with the Electoral Commission of Zambia and told them, look, this is what we go through, help us?
We have. The last engagement we had with the Electoral Commission of Zambia, we told them that this, in fact we even told them that in their face, we told them that you, as Electoral Commission of Zambia, you are toothless because you cannot punish the UPND. It appears you are favoring the UPND. We told them.
Well, and what was their response?
Their response was just that, no, actually, when you look at it historically, in fact, in 2021, we were actually on record that we had punished a PF member. Then they were the ruling, and we suspended them from participating in an election. So we told them, we said, that is the Electoral Commission of 2021. Bwana, can you show us the Electoral Commission of 2025 today is able to apply itself in a very fair manner to ensure that those that are erring must be punished?
Yeah.
They've got the right, they've got the, and that is why, you see, I want you to understand certain things. When managing elections, it's a process, by the way, a very complicated and complex process. Therein lies a dispute resolution, committee that is created every time there is a by-election. Now, from resolutions of the dispute resolution committee, you can actually have recommendations done to the actual electoral commission or the returning officer to say, I think this party was at fault and they are not repentant. You may go ahead and disqualify them. We've never seen that happening.
Yeah. Now, getting into the by-elections themselves, are you confident that the Alliance Tonse is going to scoop maybe one or both of them seats, seeing that the UPND, I think since 2022, they have won, I think, maybe 98% of the by-elections that we've had, both parliamentary and also ward level. Are you confident?
The reality is, as a matter of fact, today, as we are talking, the Zambian people have made up their minds as to who they shall vote out of power in 2026. They have made out of their mind.
Not through by elections.
And let me go on. Mm-hmm. The reality is the Zambian people have made up their minds as to who they shall vote out of power in 2026. They know to say UPND is gone. However, coming to by-elections, the reality is that being on all fours, without violence exerted by UPND, they are losing these elections by 13 hours. As a matter of fact. But I can assure you, the way I know UPND today, with what I have experienced, they shall cause violence on polling stations that have got huge populations. They shall do that. That is their patterns. But now, if we've got a police that is going to police these events in a professional manner, we will have expected that they equally have the statistics that we have when we're doing our research for campaigns. They equally know that these are highly populated areas and they expect that these UPND cadres will come and cause violence. But why is it that they decide to only put one or two police officers, to guard the place, knowing very well to say these guys are likely to strike? They are going to defranchise people. So if the UPND is going to, in their normal way of causing violence, they cause the violence on different polling stations, especially those with huge populations, then I will tell you that they will manage to rig the elections. Besides, right now where we are, what the Electoral Commission of Zambia has done, in fact, is they've introduced a VVD machine, which requires that for you to vote, you need to scan your fingerprint, your thumbprint. And only a person who appears on that machine is allowed to vote. So the only way these angels that we have in UPND have to rig an election is by causing confusion. Because you cannot go and vote if you don't have a voter's card that belongs to you. So the only way they can rig an election,
maybe rig an election is a different
or manipulate numbers.
That we're talking about.
Or maybe I can tell you that the only way they can manipulate numbers is by them causing confusion at a polling station, and when they cause the confusion at a polling station, they tamper with the G20 forms. And remember, the rule by the Electoral Commission of Zambia is it does not entirely mandate all stakeholders to sign on the G20 form for it to be taken to the totaling center. And they will only consider results on the G20 form, not the results that you have. So when you bring in an argument as to the result that are brought, then you can request that let's suspend the announcing of these results from this polling station. Let's bring the ballots and count from here to re-verify before you announce.
What you're saying sounds like a complex
ideally, yes, it's a whole complex.
And looking at how that they've won 98% of the by-elections, do you think that...
I will tell you that when you check... I will tell you that when you check 98.9, in fact 99.9% of these by-elections that they have won, there has been a serious spree of violence that has been caused by UPND at polling stations where there's been noise. And that is why members of the Tonse Alliance have indicated that we shall this time around protect or defend the vote, or defend ourselves when that comes to that. Unfortunately, there comes a point in life when an oppressed person will feel they need to defend themselves. So, if the police can ensure that they increase the manpower, especially on polling stations where we expect a lot of people to vote, polling stations with high number of voters, then I can assure you UPND is losing both elections. Before you know it, we shall be having celebrations by the opposition. But if the police do not increase the amount of manpower, we shall hear this violence, because the UPND have imported the violent cadres into Petauke and Pambashe. We know and we have seen. And these are known people. The police, by tomorrow I will tell you there will be more than 15 cases that will be reported to the police. And what will happen is the police will not move, unfortunately, in their usual way of not moving.
All right, the number is 0956-200-490. Let's get to the phone lines very quickly. 0956-200-490. Let's get your calls on that number. 30 seconds, very quick, straight to the point, so that we accommodate as many callers as we can. And then later on we'll get to our Facebook viewers. Good morning, you are through to the program.
Good morning, Angel.
Your name and where you calling us from?
Washmalan, Mr. Mukandila, good morning.
Good morning, Washmalan. Mwajuge mpungwai.
Aure tali tsunga mubuchushi wetereba Newton.
Yamani.
Mkwanga na mumona nga maba election ya mwati mune yatike mkwacha mukabushi. So ND bawinine kuliginga. Bale bonfye fyongo umuntu wano mufi unge makata ne nani alavotre buteko wawo. Tapali. UPND naitwa abantu bonse balishanya, abantu babo balishanya kwebati ukuvota UPND balipanga mistake. Panga mwasa mwana abantu fo balechula mutengo wa fintu nafikwela. So the opposition ikatanene kwateni mutima umo. Futhi bayisizedi. Mwisumbinisha bachipenzi bale bonke chifuru echo awe. Mwime bonza opposition kano kwebati uwimufunyeni to wa UPND. Takwaba yakwebati nani kupera muntu wa mutipani. Ikufune chawo mulingira kwando kwebati ikanipo muntu umbi. Ekona ulia. Ama election pantu ngana mwana yonsaya baleta yakufurukufi balebocha abantu ifintu baleta amavuka zikadi jeno niko muntu ngemata avuti abantu abatapali nabaleta kwake mcharo atale yamkwa inatotera.
All right, thank you so much. Is that Precious or Washmalan? Washmalan from the Copper Belt. Good morning, you're through the program.
Moi bwandi.
Bueno maukabwanje boss.
Bueno ndine ba Ivan ntumira kwacha zanga let's kiri mungira mchemosha.
Yeo ba Ivans.
Ziko mokwambiri na posha kona wa Celestine Mukandila. Mukandila?
Embwa ba Ivans muri bwanje.
Ndine ba Ivans ntumira kwacha zanga.
Okay.
Yewe. So manje kukamba kwanga ba isi ofisa ko punto. Due to the fact of the time I want to so that you can accommodate so many callers. So in a punto yanga nyakutati enga babambi bamushe but punto yanga nyakutati manje kulinga bamene mafoto ko bamene by election bila jua varude scratch ma confusion ni bakapokola babidi whatever they are using all the means by UPND kuti ba win my election. And what confidence are you that in 2026 they are not going to use the same confusions, because the party in power has got all the powers to utilize all the means so that it win 96%. You just imagine winning. So the opposition, which type of one, because I still only have let us down. How can the UPND winning all the elections? Does it mean they are leaking or maybe it's a genuine one? Because how when I say genuine one, definitely that means some people, I don't know what I can call them, they are happy with them, with this anger, with everything which is happening. But if they are not, if they are unhappy, they were supposed to lose. So what are you doing on that issue? Which at 2060 or my elections,
all right. Thank you so much, Evans. Great to know that Chazanga is tuned in. Is Chazanga part of Matero? No, that's Mandevu.
Chazanga, there is part of it is Mandevu, part of it is Chisamba.
Chisamba.
Yes.
All right. Great to know that Chazanga is tuned in. Good morning.
Morning. How are you?
Very well. This is Morgan.
Yes. And good morning, everybody, and good morning, the listeners.
Morgan from Lusaka. Yeah. Go ahead with the contribution.
First and foremost, what I want to say is that Zambia is on the map that is a peaceful country. And right now we had people who came to investigate if those many people are reporting violation of human rights. We had Irene Khan and this you called Lapatwa finished 10 days. And I heard one day saying, she was saying there is a freedom of expression. And some people, the way they are writing on social media, insulting each other. In other countries, they don't allow. But here, I think they tolerate a person insulting, defamation, just because maybe the president removed it, the defamation of the president. But there is still have a hate speech, and hate speech is an offense. So for us, I think the only issue we need to expedite in the political arena, there is still hatred, what I've seen. This hatred, if you continue, then they can bring harm to the young people which are upcoming. We need to expedite, because what we have seen that in time of prosecuting, don't targeting the former. We need to prosecute the current. If a current minister, a current MP have done something wrong, suspend that one and prosecute it. Because don't say a new government when it come, we start targeting, because you are not being prosecuted when they was in power. And targeting. That's the only issue what you have. I think. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Morgan, for your contribution. I think let me get all them contributions at a go so that to allow you to respond at once. Good morning. You are through to the program.
Yes, good morning.
Yes, your name and where you're calling us from?
Anxious, Lemota or Proxop.
Anxious, calling us from?
Lemota or Copper Belt.
Oh, Kuchpurukusu Copper Belt. Go ahead with the contribution. We're anxious.
Mkwai Natasha Mkwai Baishan.
So therefore kuranda ko padi ne aba yine mureranda po ikona va opposition bonse mufiringe ma ba united bakwe bata at least mwa tufumia ko muri sevo turetizama. I think before Tabarava Mupawa, they had all the solutions to fix this country. But after I say some power, that's why issue ama solutions back with the that's why issue ama solutions yon say wari and go back yo bakesa state ekoya. So ndero mbako ngatakwewo kwewati mwinge katana mwema oppositions bonse mwai katana. Mwaisa turula kwa pantricharo nacho naika amalai tapari eso turesta fueva la nina ma business ya mababi tapari eso ture definition.
Okay.
No but wala apart from never opposition so and pagogo government is into future from is 2022.
All right, well, anxious. Thank you so much for your contribution. Great to know that you are tuned in. Let's get one more caller, then we get our text messages. Okay, we have quite a number of text messages. This one says, good morning. How can you rate the performance of the UPND government so far? Humphrey Chamunda. That's a question for you. How can you rate the performance of the UPND government so far? This one says, good morning, Mr. Moderator, and good morning, Mr. Mukandila. Council, you are already proving that you want to work for the people of Matero and trying your best to unite Matero. You have my support in everything you do. Secondly, I support your stance on the respect of human rights. Rick Jr. Thank you so much, Rick. So it says, good morning, Angel and Mr. Mukandila. The world thrives on lies and not the truth. The PF defended cadarism. Today, UPND is doing the same thing. Politicians are full of confusion. Mr. Kaseya Kitwe. Thank you so much, Mr. Kaseya. This one says, hi. When will that road from Ballaston police to join 7070 be worked upon? When will that road from Ballaston police to join 7070 be worked upon? I think these are constituency matters. Also on Facebook, we do have Martin Muletwa. Martin Muletwa says, good morning, Angel and Mr. Mukandila. The UPND should concentrate on reducing the high cost of living than targeting opponents. Things are not okay on the ground. Let the state pay you for the damage caused. Actually make it 300,000 kwacha so that you teach them a lesson. Let's hope this time around you will be adopted. I wish you well. Sir, tuned in from Livingston. Thank you so much, Martin, for that. Manmo says, following from Kabanana. Great to know Kabanana is tuned in. Stephen says, Mukandila Nabakwe. Let's go Matero. Incoming Matero Member of Parliament, Celestine Mambula Nabakwe 73 Pro Max, aka Lusaka lawyer. This is coming through from Musa Dube. Thank you so much, Musa. Let's get the last two calls. Good morning, that's through to the program.
Hello?
Yes, your name and where you calling us from?
My brother,
Yes, go ahead, Wash Precious, with the contribution.
Mr. Mukandila, Washington Karamba.
I'm going Wash Precious, Marsh, we can put my.
Number one, poseni kwa mano ngawa PF ichalo tachiri bwino. So umolezi atike kubena chirango kutatwe kwa ipitike kuri bachitoteroku atema kuri bachitire kidnap ba UPND muposte kwa mano ikataneni senchapa modeni langena bena Zambia lead intungusha 2026 bena Zambia trekavira intungushi bushe intungulushinshi and all wakemika ngaba tonse depend wote bena Zambia tukamusapote icho trekavira takoba chiwumutungulushu bulipo kwa new darkness tuka ufiye 2026 because now it's poverty. Mr. Mukandila, imagine unga wa PF wa bushire 118 unga tunaishita 370 shuka kama ishide kwacha the 5 kwacha leo tunaishita 78 kwacha so abana Zambia wana awachifu Mr. Mukandila so akulo shedding na yena imomali mwale konka sechu nomba bena batabaishiwa de nomba ni pera ko mai no mi pera so Mr. Mukandila na papata sana desa tuwa kwa chache cha Zambia monen tribalism ope ya fura mchache cha Zambia ipunga watu tukapela bemba ikwe pasta ipunga tuwabeba kwa chuku na bena katina sana wamulembesha ukwenda za chuku Southern Province Waloma wamulembesha but ipo watu tukire kwa bemba tutoka tamana tata ile walembesha na tote.
All right, thank you so much, Wash Precious. Let's get the last caller. Good morning, you're through to the program.
Good morning.
Yes,
Mr. Moderator.
Yeah, your name and where you're calling us from?
Thank you so much. This is Patrick on the line.
Mr. Patrick, how is Solwezi doing this morning?
Solwezi is okay. We some cloud. Some nimbus cloud showing. It's about to rain. So generally the temperature is okay.
All right. Under a minute, you can go ahead with the contribution.
Okay. Thank you so much. Good morning, Mr. Mukandila.
Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Patrick.
First and foremost, I would want to appreciate the views that you've brought. Quite a lengthy discussion that you brought forth politically. But I'm sure you and I, we also understand that obviously the background where we have come from has not been clear. From the onset, I want to put it clearly that obviously it's not everything that is right that is being done, like you have pointed out. But I think you and I should also understand that this Zambia needs sober-minded opposition leaders, needs sober-minded that should come to the floor and to ensure that we move this country forward. Now, in particular, I want to point out on the type of language that
have exerted their energy on, which is provocative. I don't know how you look at it. Sometimes I ask myself, when I listen to people like Rafauna Kachinda, I read posts by Emmanuel Mwamba, I ask myself, okay, this is Zambia that belongs to all of us. But why should someone take such type of narratives that are divisive, provocative? I think, if someone did it, like you've said, it shouldn't be done in perpetuity. A wrong should be a wrong to you, to me, and to everyone. So the stance that the opposition has taken, that you've cited, that you've said the current government is doing to this opposition, it's not good. We need to sit down and iron out the issues, because at the end of the day, the tongue that you and I are using belongs to Zambia. We are all Zambian, and it requires sober-minded. But if you bring, like the previous caller talked about, hatred that has been engulfed in the opposition, it's not supposed to be like that. Mm-hmm. Clearly, we are able to say it's like some people are more than others. Classic of the animal farm kind of attitude. That's not supposed to be the way it should be. So for me, as a citizen and the party of Zambia, to say, put your house in order as opposition. Look at the plight of this nation. Where do you take it? And be sober-minded when you come to the floor talking about your politics. I'm happy. I should register to you. I love the way you talk, and I love your line of thought. But if you bring another person, which I don't want them, they'll always be sarcastic, I don't know. I think that's the language that we don't. Remember that each one of you has a following. The PF has a following, the UPNT, the specialists, you can name them. So the language that you use may injure the next. I think that's the direction that we need to take. Let's be sober-minded. Let's drive this country agenda forward. After all, we all want to see our Zambia getting to greater heights. Thank you so much.
Thank you
That was my thought that I wanted to share.
Thank you so much, and we'd appreciate for your comment, Mr. Patrick.
Thank you so much, Mr. Patrick.
All right. Council, you can respond to those quite a number of
this is a mouthful actually, and thank you very much Bashi Malan, thank you very much by Evans, thank you very much Brother Morgan, Anxious from CBU, Brother Ricky Jr., and our other colleagues Wash Precious and Patrick. Thank you very much for your contributions and calls. However, I would say they had a similar contributions, which dealt with the fact that the cost of living is extremely high, and there is need for this government to do something about that. There is need for this government to ensure that they arrest the cost of living, unlike arresting opposition players or whoever it is that comes out as a voice of reason, giving the much needed checks and balances to them. And also we had colleagues from Machero constituency trying to find out as to when the road to from Ballaston police going to 70 will be worked on. And I think it's extremely important that we understand that our civic leaders have since been engaged, and unfortunately nothing much has been done to try and ensure that this road is worked on. But I know the civic leaders have been engaged. I know the area member of parliament has been engaged on this basis. The only unfortunate part is this, and it's extremely important for people to understand. We may have the capacity actually to go and work on these roads with our own personal resources. We contribute as a community. Unfortunately, we cannot do it because government will need to give authorization for any private person to work on government property. Remember, the road is a government property. The moment you decide in your own way to go and work on this road because you want to show the people that you can work for them, you may end up being cited for destruction of public property. Unfortunately, even if Palimi go D, you go there and attract your road, you can't, because as a private person you need the authority from the local authorities, unfortunately. But I only hope and pray that this government, Honorable Garin Kombo, must be listening to this, there is an issue that has come about on that road, Honorable. It's extremely important that you show us that you are able to deliver to these things. And of course, our councillors in the area, as well as the area member of parliament, is aware. These are colleagues that are aware of these things. I think it's unfortunate that the council has not come in to try and ensure that they work on these roads. On the other end, there is a narrative that has been peddled by the UPND to indicate that there is no opposition in Zambia. And I want to tell the Zambian people that, colleagues, the opposition that the UPND has today is not a political party. The opposition that the UPND has today is the Zambian people. And it's extremely important for them to realize that. The earlier they realize this, the better. Because we have seen this movie before, where we as the PF would indicate that could be opposition, but at last we lost, we were walloped because of that mindset, the mentality that they have today. Besides, when you look at the deliverables of UPN and the deliverables of PF, you would even see that PF even could deliver things that they would point at to say, this we have done. But with our colleagues having built toilets in Kabushi, is it in Kwacha, I don't think anyone would even say they delivered on anything. However, it's extremely important for them to realize that it is the Zambian people who are their greatest opposition, and the Zambian people have already decided where we are right now. They've already decided as to who they shall vote out of power. And remember, historically, the Zambian people have never really voted in anyone, any political party. They've always voted out political parties. In 1991, UNIP was voted out. In 2011, MMD was voted out. In 2021, the Patriotic Front was voted out. And I will tell you and I will assure you that the Zambian people right now, they've decided that they are voting out the UPND government for failure to deliver on their promises and for failure to live up to the expectations of the Zambian people. And the people of Mateo are voting out UPND. That I can assure you. Because they know to say, we are not living as a united front. The UPND has divided the constituency. And that is why we've come with the motto that Mukandila Nabako 73. I beg your pardon. Because we want to unite this constituency. And the amount of votes that shall come out of Mateo shall point that this is a united front that is coming in to ensure that we live as one Zambia and one nation. So I think my take is our colleagues require a serious self-introspection. They require to sanitize their environment. And just the fact that we need to have these colleagues become more patriotic than selfish. It should not be about their selfish interests. And I think they need to be very patriotic. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much for coming through to today's edition of our chat back. Really appreciate your efforts. We know that you should have been in Petauke or Luapula province, but you decided to come through and have a conversation with our people. So we're really grateful and thank you so much and all the best. This is where we come to the end of the program today. Thank you so much, everybody that texted on our number code